Hello again, everyone. This is Mike Perkins. I'm the Vice President of Operations at North Rock Technical Services. We're an automotive-focused outsourced IT department. For those of you that have come across this video out of order, let me tell you a quick bit about myself. I've been involved in the automotive IT industry since 1995. Throughout the years, I've continuously kept up my training and certifications, and in 2015 started working towards an executive certificate at MIT. In January of 2020, I completed that program. My ambition is to educate leaders in the automotive industry by breaking down complex subjects and concepts into normal everyday language. So to recap, on October 27, 2021, the Federal Trade Commission announced a newly updated rule under the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, GLBA, to require financial institutions to strengthen their data security safeguards to protect consumer financial information. This new rule specifically applies to non-banking financial institutions such as automotive dealerships. Throughout this video, when I read the actual rules verbiage, it may include the word financial institution. In these instances, please make a mental substitution with automotive dealership. This video is part 2 of a 3-part series intended to be a brief summary of the changes to the rule that affects automotive dealerships. Please keep in mind this is a high-level overview intended for a non-technical audience in order to explain the 3 main categories of new requirements. Those categories are planning and reporting, information security requirements, and testing your security. The new FTC Safeguards Rules key provisions must be in place by December 9 of 2022. But the changes actually went into effect January 10. So you really need to get things created and in place well before that date, as there are significant penalties for non-compliance. However, I believe the ramifications of a breach are far higher. According to a survey by Auto Remarketing, just under 84% of consumers will not go back to buy another vehicle from a dealership after their data has been compromised. As I have mentioned in all the other videos, the very first requirement is to have a designated qualified individual, or QI. The QI can either be an employee or an outside professional, but would need to be someone with professional cybersecurity training, as they're going to be verifying that all of the following protections are in place. So let's get started on the required changes to the actual technology that run your dealership. These new requirements are: number 1, the use of MultiFactor Authentication, also referred to as 2FA or MFA, the encryption of all data both in transit and at rest, and last, the employee cybersecurity training, phishing tests and email simulations, things like that. Now, as I promised, I'm going to break down all this tech talk and show you some examples of each. Let's start with multi-factor authentication. Some of you may be familiar with multi-factor logins from your banking or investment accounts. Multi-factor simply means you need at least 2 things to be able to access a system. Examples of multi-factor would be something you know, like a password, something you have, like a cell phone, or something you are, like a fingerprint or a retina scan. Now, Microsoft has publicly stated that MFA, multi-factor authentication, can block over 99.9% of account compromise attacks. Now, a 2-step authentication sounds like a hassle, but watch this video and see how easily blocking 99% of all login attacks can be.
Hi everyone. Today we're going to demonstrate logging into a computer using 2FA. You may also hear this referred to as 2-factor or dual-factor login. So if you read automotive news, they recently reported the need to add dual-factor to dealerships, and many cyber insurance carriers are requiring it as well. The most popular way to add this security is through a text message or an authenticator program. So here's how simple it is. You just enter your password like you normally do, pull up your cell phone and click Allow. And that's it, you're in. In this example, 2-factor simply means something you know like your password and something you have like your cell phone. 2-factor logins increase security and almost completely eliminate automated attacks.
In that example, an app on a cell phone was used. But as shown in the pictures, you can also use an electronic key generator or other biometric methods. The phone app is probably the most used, as almost everybody has a smartphone, and certainly any of the methods shown would satisfy the requirement. As a side note, text messaging based two-factor has shown to be a little less effective and is falling out of favor recently, but it's certainly better than nothing at all. So what the rule actually states is that dealers must implement multi-factor authentication for any individual accessing any information system unless your qualified individual has approved in writing the use of reasonably equivalent or more secure access controls. Well, that wraps up this section. The next requirement is data encryption. This is not really something you're going to see or interact with. You mostly just need to know that it needs to be done. Either way, to clarify, the terms at rest and in transit can be directly translated to things saved on your computers, servers, or devices, would be called at rest, or in transit, which would simply mean while it's moving. For instance, like email. Now, the requirement is that IT needs to make sure your drives are encrypted and that your emails are encrypted as they go from computer to server and then from server to server. Now, this is all going to be very technical and obviously not going to be something that you need to do yourself. But please keep in mind that you still need to treat email like a postcard. You never email any personal or customer's data. If you wouldn't write it on a postcard and put it in a mailbox, then don't email it. Email is not secure. So this rule verbiage is pretty straightforward. The rule states that the dealership must encrypt all customer information, both in transit over external networks and at rest. So information between all major DMS providers and third-party CRMs is automatically done through either your DMS app or your browser. So as it pertains to automotive dealerships, your IT just needs to have set all data storage drives to encrypt information and set all mail servers to use encryption. And then you just need to remember, never email personal information in the first place. So one last word on data encryption. Almost every dealer we have worked with has insisted that all customer data is stored in the cloud or with their DMS. The reality is almost everyone we've evaluated has had some amount of protected customer information on their internal network, from buyer's orders to credit app information to even IRS 1040 forms. So this brings us to our final section, employee cybersecurity training. It's long been our belief that security is everyone's job and firewalls and antivirus are only going to protect you so much. The reality is that about 90% of all data breaches happen due to human error, and according to CSO Online, 94% of all malware comes through email. Everyone has gotten a phishing email, but what's more and more common is spear phishing. This is where a criminal will research a company and figure out who the dealer principal, the GM, or the controller is, and send highly targeted emails that appear to actually come from that person. So a robust employee security training program is a must. Fake emails are fairly easy to spot if you know what you're looking for. In this case, the rule actually gives a very broad requirement of security awareness training, so in actuality this goes beyond the IT realm into things like locking the finance doors and locking up files. But it can also include using the Windows key L to lock your workstation when you walk away. The text of the rule states that dealers should be providing your personnel with security awareness training that is updated as necessary. And the updating is going to be based on risk assessments, and we'll be talking about those in the next section. So before we wrap this section up, let's recap. The information security requirements that have changed are: there is now a requirement for multi-factor authentication, also called 2FA, MFA, or two-step authentication. That's to be logging into your computers. The encryption of data at rest and in transit, and the requirement for a security awareness program, or as we're going to call in this, a employee cybersecurity training program. So once again, thanks for listening. I hope this video provided you some value, or at minimum made you seem a little extra smart when talking to your boss. Sure, we'd love to be your team, but even if we're not, you have questions, feel free to reach out to me in whatever way is most convenient for you, and I'll see you in the next video.